Hello everyone, welcome to the lecture on audiences. This lecture is part of your paper on communication research introduction. This lecture analyses the various audience based theories of media. The theories we will be learning are uses and gratification theory, cultivation theory and knowledge gap theory. We will understand how media messages influence audiences and vice versa. We will also learn the various theories about the complex relationship between audience and media texts, uses and gratification theory. Let us begin with the uses and gratification theory. For a long time, media research was only focused on the effects of media. Researches have been conducted to assess how media influences the society in which it operates. So, traditionally, a media centered approach has been prevalent in media research. Uses and gratification was the first audience centered approach in media research. We can say that while other theories dealt with what do media do to the people, uses and gratification theory dealt with what do people do with the media. Uses and gratification theory is based on the idea that audiences who use media seek a certain gratification from it. These gratifications may vary from person to person. Therefore, the use of media by audiences will also vary from person to person. For example, different people watch TV for different reasons. Children may watch cartoons, housewives may watch daily soaps, teenagers may watch lifestyle and fashion shows, elderly may watch religious channels. So, the same medium is providing different sort of gratification to different users. This theory seeks to answer the questions: why do people use media and what do they use them for? The theory states that people choose their media on purpose and they use them to satisfy their specific needs. These needs may range from enhancing knowledge, achieving relaxation, developing social interactions, seeking a diverse or an escape from their present situation. The theory explores media choices and consumption patterns of audiences and how it affects them. The tenets of the theory are: the audience is active and knows clearly what it wants from the media. The members of the audience make their own decisions as to which medium they choose against the other from the media available. There is a competition between media and other resources for fulfilling the needs of and providing gratifications to the consumers. The audience members are fully conscious and aware of their media choices. Therefore, they are able to provide accurate information to the researchers regarding their media choices, use and impact. Only the audience members are capable of deciding upon the quality of the content of the media. Now let us understand active audience. The theory proposes that audience are not merely passive receivers of the media messages. They play an active role in deciding what media do they choose and how does it fulfills their needs. Therefore, different media compete with each other for audiences' attention. Now let us look at the origin of this theory. Herta Herzog's research in 1944 was the earliest to lay the foundation of uses and gratification theory. She studied people listening to soap operas for different gratifications. She put them in three categories: emotional, wishful thinking, and learning. Abraham Maslow's needs and motivation theory also bears strong resemblance with the uses and gratification theory. He argued that the needs and motivations of an individual are based on hierarchy of. He gave a pyramid of needs called Maslow's hierarchy of needs: self-actualization, ego, self-respect, social / belonging, security / safety, biological / physical. In 1954, Wilbur Schramm also proposed a formula known as the fraction of selection, which was used to determine an individual's choice of mass media. It was used to discern the amount of satisfaction a person expected from the medium against the effort that went into achieving it. It was Dave Bloomler's and Dennis McQuill's research in 1969 that led to the conception of uses and gratification theory. Bloomler and McQuill analyzed people's aim and intention for watching certain political programs on television during the 1964 elections in the United Kingdom. They tried to identify why different viewers watch different programs according to their needs. Also in 1972, McQuill and Bloomler along with Joseph Brown classified the uses of different types of media into four categories: diversion, personal relationships, personal identity, and surveillance. Now researchers are centered on efforts to explore connections between the needs, aims, advantages, and consequences of media uses along with individual factors. This would help in making theory more extrapolative and descriptive. Now let's move to the cultivation theory. It is a theory of media effects based on long-term viewing of television. The theory was proposed in 1976 by George Gardner and Larry Gross. It is one of the most popular theories in the field of mass communication research. Cultivation theory developed as a result of Cultural Indicators project in 1972. It was initially conceived to analyze the growing violence in American culture. The primary aim of the project was to investigate the extent to which television viewing contributes to audience conceptions and actions in areas such as gender, minority, and age role stereotypes, health, science, the family, educational achievements and aspirations, politics, religion, and other topics. An yearly content analysis of shows being broadcast on primetime television was carried out by George Gardner. The portrayed violence was studied to create a violence index. It was found that primetime television portrayed more violence as compared to violence in the real world. The theory proposes that the more time people spend living in the television world, the more likely they are to believe in the social reality portrayed on the television, which implies that the way people perceive reality is heavily influenced by images on television. Therefore, heavy users are more likely to believe that real world is similar to the depicted one on television. Hence, their perception of reality is being subtly cultivated by exposure to television. A key element in cultivation theory is the concept of mainstreaming. Repetition of certain images on television tends to mold the perspectives of viewers into a common mainstream. Television blurs, blends, and bends their viewpoints into one broad range of shared meanings and assumptions. It directs the perceptions of people from different backgrounds into a same central current. So, it can be understood that mainstreaming is the blurring, banding, and bending process by which heavy TV viewers from disparate groups develop a common outlook on the world through constant exposure to the same images and labels on TV. Next, let's understand resonance. It is the congruence that occurs between the televised reality and the real world of viewers. When a person watches something on television and a similar thing happens to him in the reality, this leads him into believing that truth more firmly. If a certain act of violence seen on television happens to a person in the real life as well, it makes up for a double dose of cultivation of that belief. Therefore, the term resonance means the combination of everyday reality and television providing a double dose that resonates with the individual, which in turn amplifies cultivation. For example, the fictional television character of a person belonging to minority community is more frequently victimized on television in a stereotyped manner. So, if a person who watches more television experiences a similar incident in real life, his belief will be resonated and amplified. Cultivation theory also talks about phenomena called mean world index. Heavy viewers of television are exposed to repeated images of violence and crime, leading to the development of mean world index. Viewers begin to perceive the world as a mean and dangerous place. If people frequently watch how crime and treachery is common everywhere in the television world, they eventually create a similar impression in their minds for the actual world. This makes them suspicious and doubtful, and they think that most people cannot be trusted and are just looking out for themselves, as pointed out by Gerbner, Gross, Morgan and Signorelli in 1980. Cultivation theory is based on three assumptions. First, medium. This theory regards television as a medium essentially distinct from all forms of media. It is cheaper and more easily accessible as compared to other media like print and film. It does not require people to be literate to understand most of the television content. Therefore, television has become the major factor in shaping the mainstream culture of a society. In words of Gerbner, television has become the central cultural arm of our society. Second, audiences. On being exposed to the repeated images through television, the audience subtly makes a perception about the world around them and its culture. This shapes the way people think and influences how they relate to each other. Television leads them to perceive the world not in the terms of facts, but rather on the speculations they make based on the things they watch on television. Third, effects. The observable, measurable, and independent effects of television on its audiences at a given point of time may be small. The influence of television could not be underestimated. Gerbner explained it through ice age analogy, stating that an average shift of 1 or 2 degrees in temperature could cause an ice age or lead to global warming. Similarly, the TV watching habits of light viewers and heavy viewers may only differ in terms of a few hours, yet the differences in the perception of the two groups is substantial. Knowledge gap theory. Now let us begin the knowledge gap theory. This theory is based on the assumption that the distribution of knowledge in any society is differential. The increase of information in society is not evenly acquired by everyone. People with higher socio-economic status tend to have better access to information. This theory was first proposed by Philip J. Tichonor, George Donohue, and Clarice Olian of the University of Minnesota in 1970. The team of professors, also called Minnesota team, developed this theory to explain the knowledge gap that exists between people from higher socio-economic status and those from lower socio-economic status. When some new information is entered into a social system through a media campaign, it is not received by all the members of the society uniformly. It is likely that the people from higher socio-economic status who are already better educated and informed may have better access to the information, which may further amplify their understanding of the message. On the other hand, people belonging to the lower economic strata of the society, who may already be less educated and informed, may not have much access to the information. This may further intensify their lack of knowledge. The disparity of information between the two groups, differentiated by their socio-economic status, is likely to worsen in such a situation. The theory argues that These gaps in knowledge among different groups of society have always existed. Its foundation was laid by the public information campaign research conducted by Herbert Hyman and Paul Schiedsley in 1947. They observed that the spread of information and knowledge in various groups of the society was rarely equal. Other studies had also reported similar observations regarding people who are more educated, having better knowledge and information acquisition capability as compared to those who were less educated, as pointed out by Gaziano in 1997. The formal development of this theory was marked by the study titled Mass Media Flow and Differential Growth in Knowledge, conducted by Philip Tichonor, George Donohue and Clarice Olian at the University of Minnesota. They begin to explore the influence of factors such as education level of socio-economic status on acquisition of knowledge. Knowledge gap theory made the following assumptions. Communication skills play a crucial role in the reception of knowledge. People belonging to higher socio-economic status are found to have better communication skills, education, reading, comprehending, and remembering information. It is easier for people from higher socio-economic status to store information and remember the issues as they have better background knowledge. People of higher socio-economic status tend to have a bigger circle of people to interact with. They are much more active in social groups and have more chances of discussing new issues and topics with others. This leads them to further strengthen their knowledge. People from lower socio-economic strata are less informed and therefore less interested in new topics. This may amplify their ignorance as they do not feel a need to expose themselves to new information. On the contrary, the people from higher socio-economic strata are more interested in exposing themselves to new topics. Mass media, owing to its commercial and profit-making nature, is inclined to cater to the tastes and interests of the people belonging to the higher socio-economic status. Lastly, the researchers identified 3 variables that could diminish the knowledge gap in a society. People were more interested in issues that have a direct bearing and effect on their lives. Thus, local issues and topics generated greater curiosity among them as against issues of national level. Up to the point at which a communication breakdown occurred, the issues pertaining to social conflict arouse a greater interest and people tend to have discussions about them with fervor. This leads to the narrowing of knowledge gap. A community that is more homogeneous probably has lesser social disparity. As a result, there exists lesser knowledge gap in such communities. The more a community is heterogeneous, the greater the socio-economic differences and thus wider the knowledge gap. Summary. Now let us summarize what we have discussed. Firstly, we discussed the three major theories about the dynamics of media and audience interrelationship: uses and gratifications theory, cultivation theory, and knowledge gap theory. Uses and gratification theory is based on the idea that audiences who use media seek a certain gratification from it. The theory states that people choose their media on purpose. Cultivation theory proposes that more time people spend living in the television world, the more likely they are to believe in the social reality portrayed on television. Hence, their perception of reality is being subtly cultivated by exposure to television. Knowledge gap theory explains the knowledge gap that exists between people from higher socio-economic status and those from lower socio-economic status, and a community that is more homogeneous probably has lesser social disparity. As a result, there exists lesser knowledge gap in such communities. We hope that this lecture helped you in understanding audiences from different perspective. Do attempt the questions in the self-evaluate quadrant. For further reading sessions, please refer to the third quadrant. Thank you.